Many founders try to avoid sales. However, if a founder does sales himself, especially in the beginning, he can learn so much. He can learn what the target audience wants, what their concerns are, and many other things. And he can adjust not only the sales process and sales pitch, but also the offer, the pricing, and the product itself, the features of the product, because he will realize what they want. And it's not that difficult to become pretty good in sales. It's more about listening and connecting with people than convincing them to buy something that maybe they don't even want. And with practice and preparation, it will become easier and easier to do that. In this video, we will learn how to become better and better in sales as a founder. And we have a very experienced sales expert as our guest today, Mikita Martynau, who found the software solution Scarby, which assists founders with sales. Before we dive into the interview, where we will explore this topic in very detail, I want to share the most important lessons from that interview, especially focusing on lessons that improve your sales skills. Start with sales as soon as possible, even before your product is ready. You can adjust the product according to the feedback that you receive. And you can save a lot of time by not building features that your target audience doesn't value. And of course, it's not easy to convince people to have a call with you, but it will not be easier later on. So start as soon as possible. You can use your network. Maybe you know people who might be interested, or maybe your network knows someone. Or you can also reach out to the right people on LinkedIn with the help of Sales Navigator, where you can filter out very exactly who you want to find and contact. Listen more than talk. You listen 70% and you talk only 30%, because you can learn so much more by listening and then just saying only that the target audience or the prospect needs, and not talking about all the things that you offer, which most of them are not relevant to the prospect. Also, a small thing can be quite important to write down the exact words. If you learn how your target audience is communicating, you can use that style in written communication on ads, emails, and landing page, for example. Practice makes it easier. So start with people you already know or communities that you are comfortable with. And with every single call, you become better and better, and it will be easier and easier for you. Don't try to sell immediately. Instead, learn what the target audience wants and adjust your offer accordingly. Also, not everyone needs to become your client. Sometimes it's better to disqualify certain leads and focusing your time on the prospects where you have more potential, instead of chasing every single contact and wasting a lot of time. So be clear about who is your target audience. And if you have a call with someone who isn't, you don't need to interrupt the call, but end it after 15 minutes approximately, and clarify maybe that it's not a good match. Maybe there are some other opportunities in the future, but don't chase this lead anymore and focus on the leads that have potential for you. At the end of each call, especially if it's a relevant lead, be clear on the next steps. Even if it's clear for you, it might not be exactly clear for the prospect. So for example, you can say, okay, you want to speak with your business partner. Let's have a call in 1 week. Or I will contact you per email again in 2 weeks to see if the situation changed. Something in this direction, so that everyone understands what are the next steps. And of course, be reactive. It's very important to answer any messages very, very quickly and send a follow-up message immediately after the call. Bear in mind that people lose interest pretty quickly. They change their priorities. And if you are quick and get into this momentum of conversation with the client, you have better chance to sell. If the client says, I will think about it, it oftentimes means a nice version of I am not interested. But don't worry about that. Just use it as a feedback and practice, and try to analyze how you can improve your calls and sales process, and you will become better and better, and that will lead to success. It's not possible to be interesting for every single person, so it's just a numbers game. The more people you talk to, the more people will be interested, even if it's a small percentage. And now we are going to have an interview with Mikita and dive deeper into the topic of founder-led sales. I was always focusing on marketing and always had the assumption that I'm not a salesperson. There are certain types of people who are born have the potential to be a salesperson. But I'm realizing now that many people can become salespeople, and we will probably explore a few misconceptions about sales and founders-led sales. Founders-led sales means just that the founder himself is active in sales, because especially with SaaS, it's oftentimes people are introverted and technical, and they say, okay, I will get someone to do it for me. But in the beginning, when you are developing your product according to the feedback, it can be such a powerful tool. Let's start maybe with misconceptions about being able to sell.
Yeah.
Which kind of misconceptions have you heard, and what do you think about it?
Yeah, so I want to start with that it's absolutely okay to be afraid of doing sales. It's not something comfortable for most of people out there, never done sales before. There are a lot of people who think about sales like something where you need to be aggressive, you need to go after people, you need to ring in their doorbells and nobody cares about you. That's really tough. But, when you are thinking about the product that you're building, you are the only person initially who really understands the product, really understands the insights. And founder-led sales is a super crucial part of any journey for the founder. Before the product market fit, it's essential to be able to sell the product yourself. I had this fear of selling myself. Back in 2018, I was learning about the customer development concept and how crucial it is for the product development to talk to customers early. And basically, founder-led sales and customer development is essentially a very similar process. So yeah, talking about the 5 primary misconceptions or pitfalls that most of the founders fall into, I would name them. So the first one is failing to validate the market need. This is the one that we see most of the times, and that's the primary reason why startups fail. So they're trying to build something for the market that doesn't exist. Just because founders are so much in love with their idea, so they don't bother going out there and finding somebody out of their closer circle and validate the problem with them. The pitfall number 2 is assuming that problem can sell itself. So what does it mean? I've built a nice product and they will come, they will understand, because the problem is so huge. Everybody needs to understand it and everybody will buy it themselves. But this is another way to avoid sales. Pitfall number 3, too much selling, not enough learning. This is the other side of this. You might be too pushy, too aggressive, not hearing people on the other side, rather than learning from those first interactions or adjusting your objections and improving your pitch. You will just push forward, trying to close the deal and never listen to somebody on the other side. Pitfall number 4 is failing to qualify the early partners. It is very crucial to find the specific pitchhead market and the niche and understand their pains. You basically start to hearing those similar words in the conversations, and then it's very crucial to have a laser focus to the ICP, like to the specific segment of the customers that have that problem. They talk about it in the same way, so you can focus all your efforts, because founders, they are very limited on time, on this specific segment. And most of the people, they go too broad. They're trying to cover all the needs. They're trying to address all the problems coming inbound to them. Pitfall number 5 is handling of sales too early. We've seen so many teams that hire salespeople just to avoid selling themselves. And of course, no sales rep can sell the product that is not sellable. Sales reps, they are professional salespeople. They work with a playbook. So you need to build that playbook before you hire any salespeople to do this for you. The solution for all those problems is insanely simple. It's a customer discovery and validation process.
Can you tell me a little bit? We will explore this topic in detail, but what does it mean, customer discovery and validation?
If you think about the problem that customer has, there is a niche of people with the underserved need. And you need to identify who are those people and how they speak about that problem. You need to be in sync with the way they understand their pains before you will start to build any solution. But of course, in many cases, we founders, we start with some pain that we have ourselves. So we are becoming our first ICP. Then it's super crucial to find other people that have the same problem. Otherwise, you will hallucinate and build something out of your head. So this is the customer discovery process where you need to understand the specific segment of people who have this underserved need. You can validate it through specific interviews. And there are like some very strict practices that can make or break your customer development interviews. Like, for example, you need to listen more than you talk, because this is not a sales pitch. This is the way to get the information out of your potential customers. You need to ask open-ended questions, because obviously you need to understand more insights about how people think about the problem. You need to dig deeper with why. You can ask 5 whys. Sometimes it's very hard to ask 5 whys because people on the other side will think you're stupid, you're not understanding them. But
it's probably in our heads that we assume people think like that, but in reality, it's probably not that common, isn't it? Like, people like to explain and they like questions because it means you are listening.
Yeah, that's exactly the thing. So people should feel that you are genuinely interested in them and they would love to tell you their story. Then you need to capture exact phrases, because this is going to be your first marketing. Whenever you find some patterns, it works like magic. You hear it on one interview, then on the other one, and you hear that people are saying it in the same terms. That's very crucial to capture those exact phrases.
So just to understand, the founder-led sales, they start even before you completed the product. You are calling to discover, to explore, to understand what they actually want, what the target audience wants. And then you listen to their needs and wants. And then suddenly you realize, okay, they always say that they want this and that the competition maybe doesn't have this and this. And then you can create your software solution, but also the positioning, how you position yourself, it's relatable to other similar target audience.
Yeah, there should be a clear reason why your software exists. What is their audience and what is the problem that you essentially gonna solve for them that is unique and 10 times more effective than other solutions that they have so far. In order to understand that, you need to do your homework and talk to many people.
Yes, that's a really amazing advice. And it's mind shift, I think, for many. You can find so much information just by talking with people. And we will explore step-by-step instruction kind of, or advice, how to do that. We will dive deeper into those topics. Now, what is actually the potential of founder-led sales compared if I outsource it, if I delegate it to a freelancer? Which advantages can a startup expect?
You are the only one who can do the sales before you have a sales playbook. No other hired person have that clarity of the roadmap, of the reason why you're building this product. Not only sales reps expect to have a clear path and a clear playbook with specific steps and things that they can sell that you are not able to provide them. They are not ready to execute this kind of customer discovery process, because this is something that only the founder who is building the product can do. This is the crucial part of the journey for any founder. And yet many founders, they're trying to hire early, or they're trying to hire agencies, or they trying to build the product-led sales. They think that the product will sell itself. But anyway, there is no kind of shortcuts. Product will not sell itself before you talk to any of the customers that are ready to buy this product. And of course, there are some exceptions. There is a great book called Competing Against Luck. This is the book about the customer discovery process. The main idea behind the title of the book is that, of course, you can be lucky and people can come and fall in love with your product. But today, with the speed that we see with the technology, how many new startups, B2B SaaS companies are appearing every day. With this crazy competition, there is no way you can build something that other people kind of spot, and distribution channels are so noisy right now. So you need to find your specific niche. You need to be sure about what you're solving, and you need to understand how you're going to sell it. And this is the only way you can do this.
I experienced it with many clients that they have this attitude like towards marketing and sales, that they create their product and then they put it to the sales agency department and like marketing department or agency or freelancer, and then it will be done. It's like a process distinct from each other, but it's rarely works because it's so interconnected. If your offer doesn't appeal to anyone, the best salespeople will fail. So as soon as your founder-led sales are starting working and you see there is repetition, it works on a regular basis, not just outliners, then you can think about scaling it up with external agency or with internal employees.
Yeah, at the same time, I usually trying to avoid agencies in that work. It's very important for the startup to be able to have this crucial function inside the team, because initially when you're building your product market fit, it's not about the scale. Scale is more like post 1 mil ARR. This is where you need to understand you have like a specific go-to-market channel that works. You identified it, you raise the money for this channel to scale it up, then you can hire people or whatever you want to do with that. So before you have a lead volume and specific playbook that you can execute yourself in a repeatable manner, of course, I don't think that it makes sense to hire anyone. Be ready to have like 10, 20 calls a week. That's totally normal for the founder at early stage. Really depends on the check size and about the complexity of the deal and the product. But this is not something that you can skip.
How did you start your journey with sales? How was it for you?
Even in school, I was selling cell phones because I wanted to get a better one. There was some entrepreneur inside me. But then I also had my own company back in 2010s. We were selling music equipment. We had a pro audio store. I was doing sales myself. I was selling to B2B companies, to other clubs. And I was also selling stuff myself as a B2C, as a salesperson in my store, standing at the desk and like selling day to day, until we got around 10, 15 people that worked for us in the stores. We had several stores. Even then, we were doing sales ourselves, because you need to be in that. You need to understand what people want, what people say. Otherwise, if you lock yourself in the room and you will start just building theories and like plans, decks, and so on, you will very quickly lose the game. This is like my background, but when I started to work in tech, it was still a thing. And like in software sales is a crucial part of the feedback. So you can get the feedback from your existing customers, but what about the people who are not being able to become your customers for multiple reasons, right? So if the sales team is the only team talking to those people, then you will never learn why you lose deals, because those salespeople will come back to you with specific feature requests. And that's how many product become like a Frankenstein of features and that nobody can use, just because they just execute whatever their sales team is asking for. That's why I was a product manager and I had to jump on the calls. I had to talk to customers. And I was in very good relationships with our sales team. I was going on the calls, I was talking to them, I was trying to understand the pains. So many teams, they build this culture of, we build the product, we prepare the marketing, and then we throw it through the wall to salespeople, and they will do something with that. And this is the beginning of the end for any product.
Yeah, I have my own experience with feature crypt software solution many, many years ago. And then I realized, yeah, you learn so much by talking with your target audience. So let's imagine you have a introverted SaaS founder, solopreneur in front of you. Tell him to do first, especially when he's a bit like shy and is uncertain about his sales skills.
Yes, of course. And I've seen such people and met such people many times. Lots of brilliant minds and like really cool people, just not ready to talk to the outside world about their product. But the funny thing is, it's a matter of practice. So what would I suggest is that you always have somebody who is ready to listen to you. In order to break this ice, you probably need to find somebody who is you're not afraid of this person reaction, so you can like sit with that person and just talk about your product. That's the practice that is so crucial. You should go out of your head and start talking. And maybe also like one of the good ways to release that stress is to find the niche that you are comfortable with. So if you're building the game, talk to other gamers. It's much easier to talk to people like you in the beginning. So it's usually friends, family who are you selling the product to, but then you can scale it up to people from Reddit, from your favorite subreddits. And yeah, it can be very lean process if you have time. Of course, you won't go and raise the cell phone and start calling to people you never heard about. Start with somebody who you know, people from your inner circles, and then scale it.
Yeah, I'm always fascinated of people who can just cold call 100 numbers every single day and get 99 rejections. So it's
Yeah,
pretty tough. It's probably a total different field. But for startup owners, it's enough if they explore the network on LinkedIn and friends and family just to practice, and you get more comfortable and confident with each time you do it, I guess.
exactly. The repetition is crucial. If you're kind of able to do this 100 times, it will improve over time. So the same with fundraising pitch. If I feel something is uncomfortable to me right now, I'm trying to push this thing. I'm trying to do this thing because this is like my next growth lever. During my fundraising, I've pitched around 100 funds. And that was a very tough experience because there were like constant denial. So before you hear a single yes, you should hear like 99 no's. And that was tough. That was painful for the ego because you think your product is so great, and then you realize that other people don't think so necessarily. So you need to improve the product, you need to improve the pitch, you need to improve the positioning and other things. And this is the same with this customer development and founder-led sales. So you definitely gonna hear people kind of nodding the head and like saying, yeah, it's interesting. Or some people would be more straightforward saying, it's not interesting to me at all. All those things will hurt you, but until you're ready to work with this kind of feedback. And at some point, when you hear this over and over again, your skin becomes more kind of tough, and you're able to work with this feedback. You're able to turn this feedback into something that people will actually buy.
Let's imagine the SaaS founder practiced sales with his network, with his friends, potential clients. What would be the next step? How can I prepare myself for the sale? And how can I make the sale be very effective?
An easy way to get people early on is to do design partnerships, especially for B2B SaaS. So it's like, hey, let's try to build this solution together. You will get 1 year free access to it because you're kind of ready to build it with us. So this is also like an easy way to kick this off. But then at some point, of course, you need to start finding the cold leads or people who are coming outside of your network, people who are complete strangers to you. And this is where it starts to get much harder because this is no longer your friends, family, and people who recommend it. You need to build a target list. It's basically ICP list that you believe the people that have the same problem. And then you need to search. You can use like LinkedIn Sales Navigator to target those people, for example. And then you need to start reaching out to them, trying to get them on call. And those should be like 5-10 interviews where you can validate that the people outside of your network are ready to buy this product. We're talking about this process even before you will scale it up, even before you will build a playbook. You need to make sure that there are people outside of your network that are ready to buy your product and that they have this problem they're ready to pay for.
How do you contact those people so that they are interested in having a call with you?
That's also very specific to different niches. There are three primary ways to do sales. It's inbound, outbound, and product-led sales. Let me explain briefly what are those three things. So outbound is when you are reaching out to people from your ICP list. And those can be emails, those can be cold emails, those can be cold phone calls, it can be LinkedIn messages to people you don't know them, and you collected this list of those people based on certain signals. Those can be kind of their company size, their recent fundraising round, and etc. So you're reaching out to them, you're talking about your problem, you're trying to convince them to try your product or to talk to you. Then inbound, you create marketing, you created website, you created SEO, you started to do thought leadership on LinkedIn, whatever. So you have people coming to you and they're interested about your product. They create an account on your website. And this is an inbound sales. So you need to sell the product to people who are coming to you because they think they have this intent and your product probably can solve it for them. The product-led sales is in between those two. So it's when people are landing on your website, they create an accounts, but then there are like plenty of people with different intent, and you need to analyze the data of how those people act when they create an account in your product in order to understand who are the specific people you need to reach out to and book demos with them, or I don't know, give them something like extended trial, or somehow trying to convince them to buy a paid subscription, for example. Those are three main ways to do sales, and all those three, they have very different processes that you need to follow in order to build those go-to-market motions. Before you will do this, you need to understand who you're selling to, because will be the first channel for you. Like where you will find those people, you need to understand who are those people before you will find them outside of your network. And then you can start trying to build those kind of channel experiments. So you will start sending emails, you will start sending LinkedIn messages, you will start creating content. And of course, this is a very hard game because you can do a lot of things with very little time and money, and this will lead probably to no result in the short terms. That's why it's important to do this in a systematic way. So you need to start with something, test it, document it, and then move to the next channel. Because usually the product grows only on one single channel. It shouldn't be both like thought leadership and cold email outreach. Those two can work together because people will trust you more if you have thought leadership. But at the same time, if you will try to do both, you probably will fail because to do those things right, you really need to focus on a single channel.
I think thought leadership takes quite some time, and it's probably not the best thing to start as a startup. So probably we can exclude that from this episode for now. Like we don't focus so much on inbound marketing, but on the other two, especially outbound. So if you use, for example, outbound, you use emails or LinkedIn, what advice could you give?
Yeah, so the stats for the outbound marketing is brutal. With all those AI tools right now, with all this automation, you can see in your inbox, right? So it's a mess. Like there's so many messages. With AI, with the Gen AI, they not necessarily become better because the AI as a technology, it can scale the thing, but if your value proposition is off, it will just scale the noise. We can see the same messages, the same words over and over again, and it just makes us become blind for those messages and like just move them to spam folder. It's harder than ever to stand out and become somebody people will be interested in with the cold email outreach. So the only way you can do this right is with building the real understanding of your target audience, having specific language that those people are using, so it will actually convert those people into listeners. They're interested in what you're ready to propose. So it's not generic stuff. You should be saying the exact things they care about in the specific way. And the only way you can do this is through talking to those kind of people for a long time and understanding their pains. It is the same story for LinkedIn or email cadences. You need to build the understanding of your audience first. But then you can build those plays and you can start. This is a number game, so you need to send like tens, thousands of emails in order to see the conversions and understand what works, what's not. So it's definitely not, when you trying to scale it up, it's not that you will do it from your own personal inbox one by one.
So the first important is that you take the first step of calling your network, calling your friends, and getting to understand what the really biggest pain point are. And then you can create a message either on cold email or called LinkedIn outreach that resonates with them. So that's the core thing. If they have a big pain and you are sending a message related to this big pain, that you have a solution for that, then you have much bigger chances of getting their replies and scheduling a call.
That's right. And you need to have a pipeline to understand how to work with those leads. Because once you will start getting those messages back or meetings booked, you need to understand that the momentum and the time is so important in sales. People have a very short interest span. They basically interested in your product for 1 day, 2 days, and then their attention is somewhere else. So it's so crucial to follow-ups. It's so crucial to understand the stage where your people are and to move those deals quickly, like from demo to the next steps, addressing their objections or problems that blocks them from making a decision, and then pushing them to that decision, closing the deal and moving forward to the next one. So it should be like a small sprint with every single potential customer. Once they got qualified as somebody who is interested to buy, you need to move super fast.
So you send an email and you say, okay, I have here an amazing tool, or I'm planning to create an amazing tool that is exactly solving your pain. Should I include the calendar link so they can book?
Yeah, of course. Ideally, you should make the whole process as easy as possible for people. But of course, sometimes when you send the links in the first message, it's too early because you're not asking them to book a call with you. Sometimes the product is too complex and the decision-making process is too complex for people to book a call from the first email. So sometimes you're trying to kind of qualify them through specific questions or a specific description in the email. Then once they got, I don't know, interested and they kind of ready to talk about this, that's where you can start conversation about the next steps, like let's book a call, let's talk, or let me send you something, some specific materials if you need more time. I think it's the matter of experimentation, and there is no silver bullet for every product. Some products are simple enough and the solution that they provide is clear. People have a clear intent of what they want to buy, so they can book the meeting right away from your first email. The other product will require some conversations before the person will land on the demo.
I receive many emails where they ask immediately, let's have a call. And for me, it's such a big investment of my valuable time. And they have to convince me first that they are not only relevant, but also very capable and not just some kind of like average service or software solution. Do you give some kind of value in the first email, or is it only about verifying and if he's the right person to talk with?
Yeah, so in my case, the best emails usually are not sales emails. So they're more like something that is about the situation of this person, and it's highly related to the potential problem they have in at this stage. So it's always time sensitive. So for example, if you know that the company has closed the round, there are some specific problems or like things that founders should take care about like, let's say it's seed round, they need to scale their sales team, they start hiring their salespeople, or they have head of sales. So this is a moment when most of the sales tools are trying to reach out to them and start selling them software, because this is the right moment, right? So the moment should be right, but also, as you mentioned, you should convince them that your solution is relevant. So, and your team and experience is relevant. So that's also super hard to do with a few simple sentences, but you can show it by showing that you understand their pain and you understand what they're going through, and you can give an example of how this thing works today. So you can show that you have this experience, you have that expertise. So having those emails, not selling, not trying to book a call from the first email, as you mentioned, is crucial. It's more about qualifying, validating, and getting to the next step.
What about follow-up emails? What is your recommendation for that? How many and in which distance?
Yeah, also, there is no kind of specific formula, but what works for us is usually the first follow-up 3 to 4 days, so within the single week, ideally. The next one is 5 to 7 days after that. And we usually trying to send like up to 3 follow-ups before we will put the lead to nurture stage, which means that we will not send them personal emails. We will start sending them some like marketing emails or some updates or some value add emails with some kind of information that might be relevant to them before we'll get back to them with some maybe re-engagement campaign. But the most crucial thing about the follow-ups is the speed of the follow-up itself. What I don't like about the tools that do follow-ups today is that most of the meeting notes tools and like call recorders, they send follow-ups automatically after the call. And you don't want that. You don't want to make mess in the inbox of the other person with all those trashy long summaries and details that they don't need. So in our tool, for example, we don't send any emails automatically. We just nudge you that you need to send a follow-up, and then with a single click, you draft the email that is mimicking your conversational style that sounds like you. And it have like the structure of the conversation, but it's crucial to send it right after the call. And you can, of course, adjust it to add some relevant information. So send it after the call. Don't make it too kind of detailed. People don't care about this. It's for you, the information that you need. And make sure that follow up with people who are not responding to you, as well as respond to the incoming emails. That should be done ideally within the first hour. But of course, busy founders can't afford that. So at least in 24 hours, you need to respond. Otherwise, you will lose the momentum and it might be too late to get those leads.
Before we explore the call itself, the advice you can give during the call, which part of those process can your solution solve?
Yeah, so our tool is essentially an all-in-one platform with no setup. It's kind of super easy to start, which is so crucial for the busy founders. And it automates everything from working with your leads to sending the follow-ups after the calls, recording the calls, transcribing the calls, analyzing all your conversations with your customers, and keeping all your deals on track with AI suggestions. So you won't forget about certain things and promises that you made to customers. So essentially, it's like a combination of replacement for your CRM or your spreadsheets, replacement for your note takers, replacement for your call recording software, and your GPT that you use to write your emails.
We said the process starts with finding the contacts, the leads, and then sending cold emails. You cannot use the normal private mailbox, and then you have to reply, and that's where Scarbe comes in. Or is it also a tool for sending out emails?
No,
Yes.
we specifically decided not to go into outbound outreach side of the thing. So you can integrate with other tools, or you can import the CSV file with contacts, or if your other inboxes that you use to send out the emails in big volumes, they are connected to your primary email, you will get all those leads into the system, because how Scarby works is essentially just connect to your Google Calendar and your Gmail and sync with all the contacts and all their emails. So if you will get the emails that will come back to you with responses, you can turn those leads as qualified leads and mark them as qualified leads. And then if you see the potential, you can create opportunities out of them. And all this can happen like with few clicks. And at some point, we will automate this process as well, because our AI will learn about who are the best candidates from your list of leads, who are the best candidate to become an opportunity based on all we know about those leads, enriched information about them, and all the conversations happening with those leads.
For those who are listening, they might not know how to implement all of that, what we explained. So they can use Apollo, maybe, for example, apollo.io to find the right people to contact. And then they can use instantly, for example, instantly.ai to send out those emails. And then they can create some automations that answers replies, those who replies, that they are moved automatically to Scarby. And from there you can manage all those connections. It's called nurture that, because you always need to build trust with each email, with each call. You increase trust with your potential clients. And that's where your solution comes in, so that you can nurture and then not forget about some replies. You have an overview. Let's say we have covered all of those steps and we have finally a call with the prospect. Which advice could you give to make it more successful?
That's something that I tell myself all the time. Listen more, talk less. And it's hard to do, but that's a very important thing. So customers should talk more than the salesperson. Then lead the flow in a professional way. Give the expectations of what this call is going to be all about. So make it like 2, 3, 4 points of what you're going to cover. And never go with this product walkthrough guide. Don't walk through the whole experience of the product. Rather, ask few questions. What is the main problem they face today? Why it is important for them? Why they're not able to solve it today with the solutions that they have? And then present only the solution to the problems that they mentioned. Don't try to cover everything, because anyway, they won't have bandwidth to remember and they will get lost. And then always finish the call with next steps. In the sales rep or founder-led sales, the most crucial thing is to lock the call with the next steps. Ideally, it means that you either book a next call on that call. So, hey, let's pencil something for the next week, or what is the next steps going to be? You're going to go and review this with John or whatever. So you need to make sure that the other person is committed.
So you should also probably schedule, if he needs some time to discuss with his business partner or team, you should probably either schedule another call or another message or something like that. Yeah.
You need to understand what's going to happen next. And this thing ideally should happen in the specific plan that you have for that person. Yeah, you know how you close those deals, and you need to understand what is the next step. Should it be signing a contract? Should it be starting a trial? Should it be, I don't know, reviewing it with somebody on their team? You should be super sure about the next step. And then you should get their commitment. They say, yes, I understand, I will do this. And then you have a right to start following up with them and trying to push them to do the thing, because they will have all the reasons in the world to skip it, to do whatever else is on their plate. If you had their commitment and you followed up with them on the email, it would be much harder for them to skip it, because you know how people's psychology works. If they committed to something, if they said you gave your word on that, it would be much harder for them to avoid, or they will feel like bad about it. It's super crucial to have this mutual commitment. Sales is always about mutual commitment. It's never about you having an assumption that the other person has interest or will do something. It's always about you hearing from them what they will do next.
That's a very valuable advice. I've heard it many times that people are just saying, I have to think about it, which can also mean that they are out. They are not interested and they will never consider that. So how should I deal with this kind of rejections, and which kind of rejections are there else besides this, what you even don't recognize as a rejection?
Yeah, this one is a very common one. People don't want to sound bad. They want to sound kind of nice with you. So in most cases, they will say something like that. Hey, I will think about it. Your product is nice, blah, blah, blah. But yeah, you need to try to make it specific, because your job is not to hear good things about your product. Your job is to effectively close deals. The most important thing to close deals is actually disqualify people who are not your potential buyers. I think it's important to depersonalize the conversation and understand that this is not about you personally. It's about, them, and that they are not necessarily the best fit for your product, or the product can solve their pains. And you should focus on the people who you are able to help. Also, in that kind of conversation, it's usually better to say, hey, let's agree on the specific next step, like a meeting or some action from their side. And if they are not ready to take that action, you can just say, okay, so then I will follow up with you in 3 months. And then just make a note to do this in 3 months. Maybe the timing is wrong. There are like certain ways to kind of solve this, but it's important not to waste time on the lead that is not your potential customer.
How fast should it be to say, okay, you are not the right fit? And
Yes.
how long should the call be in general? Is it like 15 minutes and
I think it really depends on the product that you sell and the complexity of this product. But I would say that, in my opinion, 30-minute calls is quite enough for the product demo and next steps and qualification. It won't keep the other person too kind of busy for too long. It will still enough for you to jump through all the main things. And if there will be additional questions, that's perfect. You can then have a separate demo or onboarding session or whatever is coming next for you. For the qualification, I would say the earlier you qualify or disqualify the person, the better. Because when the lead is going through the stage, with each stage, lead becomes more expensive. So in the end of the funnel, it can cost like $400, $500 to get there, because so many people spend their time, and you as a founder, you spend so much time on them. The earlier you will disqualify them, the better. It's like with code when you write it, and when it's kind of a waste of money, you haven't kind of validated the problem, and you write the whole product, then it's like a waste of all the efforts of the whole team. But when you kind of validate the idea early, even with MVP or prototypes, then you wasted just the time of a few folks.
And during this first call, let's say 30 minutes, how fast do you usually stop the call if you realize it's not a relevant person?
Yeah, I had the call yesterday. The guy was very friendly and nice. He was telling me about his problem. I probably could understand it from the first 5 minutes, because the role of the guy was irrelevant to what we sell. It was the customer support. But we had a conversation about their problems. I was able to suggest some few things and ideas of how this problem can be solved. And in the end, he mentioned that he is going to recommend me to his sales team and customer success team, because he was kind of happy to hear how I was approaching him, and like he liked the product. I've told about our product in a few words, and I was showing him like how it can solve those problems, and he was impressed. That's basically why it's important to not kind of, when the person spend their time, like they already booked the call and they came to this call with some expectations. I would say, especially early on, when you don't have a luxury of so many leads and so much interest to your brand, you're gonna try to handle every conversation with maximum value for the person.
Mikita, yeah, you gave so much valuable advice. Do you have any last words to our audience?
Yeah, of course. So I would say that the most crucial thing is keep going. So there's so many times when you feel like this is enough for me. It's so hard. Those people are idiots. They are not understanding me, and so on. But yeah, the thing is, I think the most important thing is to just keep going. Making your homework, learning, talking to other people is crucial. Having a support network is crucial. Finding the right mentor is life-changing for me, at least. Like a few mentors of myself, they helped me so much. Don't give up too early, because there's always a chance that, is waiting for you.
Very inspiring words, very motivating. Thank you very much, Mikita. Would you like the audience to connect with you on LinkedIn or to visit your website?
Yeah, so please feel free to connect with me on LinkedIn, to drop me direct messages. I'm trying to answer everyone on different topics if I can help somehow. Yeah, also happy to share the founder-led sales guide that I've created based on my experience. Happy if you're gonna try Scarby for your own founder-led sales, and let me know how it works.
Thank you very much. Bye bye.